let me tell you what this man's speech did. According to the Delhi police, fathom this, viewers, 5 years back, in 2020, more than 50 people were killed, homes were reduced to ashes, and Northeast Delhi witnessed its worst communal violence in decades. And yet, today, instead of conversations centered on justice for the riot victims, international sympathy is being mobilized for Umar Khalid, an accused booked under India's anti-terror law, the UAPA. And now, a newly sworn-in New York mayor writes him a personal letter. US lawmakers are demanding his release. And India's internal judicial process, suddenly, out of nowhere, India finds itself under global scrutiny. And mind you, all of this international attention did not emerge overnight. It begins with an undated, handwritten letter by New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani, released publicly days after he took oath. And in that letter, Mamdani recalls Umar Khalid's words, praises his outlooks, and also assures him that many are thinking about him. And the timing is very significant because this letter surfaces when Umar Khalid's bail plea is pending before the Supreme Court of India. And soon after Mamdani's letter, 8 other US lawmakers wrote to India's ambassador questioning Khalid's continued detention and urging bail, effectively inserting foreign political voices into an ongoing legal process. And this is where Indian politics enters the frame. The BJP has linked these foreign interventions to Rahul Gandhi's 2024 visit to the United States, where he met lawmakers Jan Schakowsky and Ilhan Omar, both known for their critical positions on India's internal matters. And the same Schakowsky is now among those writing to the Indian government seeking Khalid's release. And just to give you context about these 8 US lawmakers demanding bail for Umar Khalid, they are not new to attacking India. Led by Jim McGovern and also Senator Chris Van Hollen, this group has since 2019 questioned India's sovereignty on Kashmir, criticized its citizenship laws, spoken of so-called self-determination, and repeatedly accused the Modi government of religious intolerance. And several of them boycotted PM Modi's address to the US Congress and have pushed resolutions calling India a violator of human rights. And the BJP says this is no coincidence but a pattern. The same foreign politicians who question India's democracy, its anti-terror laws, and its courts are now lobbying for a Delhi riots accused under UAPA. This is why the government calls it an anti-India lobby, a familiar group, a familiar narrative, and now a familiar face from India's opposition appearing in the background once again. And the BJP argues that this sequence points to a pattern where India's internal security laws and judicial processes are questioned abroad with political backing from within the country. And the Congress has not responded to these allegations so far. And this leads to a sharper and more uncomfortable question, a series of questions, because the questions that we want to ask is, why is there selective outrage? Why does Zohran Mamdani speak about fair trials in India while remaining silent on attacks against temples in the United States? Why is there no similar concern when Hindus face persecution in Pakistan or they are attacked in Bangladesh or Afghanistan? Because the focus appears narrow and selective, raising questions about whether this is about universal human rights or ideological advocacy. It also is very important to underline the legal reality. Umar Khalid's case is sub judice and currently before the Supreme Court of India, and arguments have been concluded and judgment is awaited. Let me also remind the lobby that former Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud himself noted that Umar Khalid's counsel had sought multiple adjournments during the proceedings, and this places the lobby's criticism in sharp contrast with the actual judicial process underway in India. And the larger picture comes into focus now because an accused under UAPA has become the subject of global lobbying, foreign political commentary, and domestic political controversy. Yet, India's democracy functions through its constitution and courts, not through handwritten letters or overseas pressure or some mayor in New York City shedding tears. Because as the Supreme Court is preparing to deliver its verdict in this particular case, the question remains whether India's judicial sovereignty will be respected or not. And that is the focus of tonight's debate on In Your Interest, viewers. And joining us on this broadcast and on this debate is Savio Rodriguez, a senior journalist. We have Vijay Grover, senior journalist. Ellen Rao, former DCP of Delhi Police, and Dr. Rajiv Nanda, senior advocate of the Supreme Court. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking your time out for this very important discussion, because we have foreign voices like Zohran Mamdani, who has just been elected. And Savio, do you think that foreign intervention is required in a case where Umar Khalid, whose speeches Delhi police found incendiary and insightful, do you think that Umar Khalid deserves support from abroad, especially from a mayor who has just been elected?
Well, the commonality, Deepak, with Mamdani and Umar Khalid is the fact that they are from the branch of Islamic radicalism and their thought process is very, very similar. And that's really the problem. So please understand, even when you saw the farmer protest and you saw the CAA protest, there were a bunch of Islamic radical organizations or Islamic support sympathizers, Islamic radicalized sympathizers, and their organizations in the US that were putting out advertisements, that were mobilizing, narrative building in the US papers and television. And that's a reality. Now, that's bound to happen, Deepak, because that's the kind of exposure and the kind of work the Islamic radical organizations have been doing as far as their narrative is concerned. The problem is where I think we have got a sort of a lesser advantage is that we don't have a strong advocacy and lobbying mechanism in the US and in other parts of the world that allows for us to take our story to the people. So when Mamdani writes a letter to Umar Khalid and Umar Khalid's parents meet up with Mamdani, it is obviously done to gain a sympathetic nod towards towards him being in jail, to drive up some support in the Islamic radical communities, in other communities that don't support the BJP, to show that minorities are in danger. That's the narrative that's been going on ever since Narendra Modi has come into the prime minister's position. But I think the fault lies with us. The fault lies with us because we have not built a stronger advocacy in the global space, and therefore we are not able to counter this narrative extensively and more assertively. What we are left to, which is pretty obvious, that the opposition, like a Rahul Gandhi, is going to align with forces that are not pro-BJP, and they are definitely going to be, some of them, anti-national forces, because Rahul Gandhi's objective is to ensure that Narendra Modi and the BJP do not continue in power. In order to do that, he's going to align with everybody that's anti-Narendra Modi. And therefore, the Islamic radical lobby in the US, which is now seeming to be a strong lobby in the US and other parts of the world, will become detrimental for the US in the long run. And that is why Donald Trump has also been very, very aggressive as far as the Islamic radical lobby is concerned. Now, if you go deeper into it, the Islamic radical lobby is actually controlled by funding that comes in from the Islamic world, as well as from China indirectly. And we also know that Rahul Gandhi had signed in a couple of years back an MOU with the ILD, which is the International Liaison Department of the Communist Party of China. It was a story the Goa Chronicle exposed several years back. So I'm not surprised with the network that Rahul Gandhi is hanging around with. What I feel that we have failed as a nation is our inability to take our story to the rest of the world, to blunt that narrative.
That's right. And the person who's taking India's story, Savio, is not obviously showing it in good light, because you saw the recent visit to Germany as well, where, Rahul Gandhi spoke and also looked down upon the manufacturing sector in India. And Vijay Groover, often perception becomes reality in politics. So do you think that, taking all these stories to the United States, garnering support, do you think this is really necessary? Why is Rahul Gandhi time and again going on foreign soil and peddling a narrative that's not in the nation's interest?
Well, see, first of all, I'm glad over here that Umar Khalid's case is now being once again brought to the limelight by Pradeep Bhandari and the other BJP spokespersons, because this is something that the social media has been full of, that trying to get some kind of attention to Umar Khalid. Nothing explains the fact, Xavier Rodriguez was time and again saying that they are a part of the Islamic radical group and so much and so more and all that kind of thing. He was passing a judgment even before the Supreme Court would actually pass a judgment. But this is not what justice is all about. For 5 years, we've not had the charge sheet framed because none of the judges have actually gone through the 1700-page charge sheet. And that is something which, raises questions as to why such a long charge sheet was needed for a speech given in Amaravati for some WhatsApp groups. If it was a watertight shut case, there should have been a trial which should have finished within a year or two or maybe 3 years, and the case should have been closed. The fact that it has been lingering on for such a long time because it is political fodder, and that is something we see that time and again when elections are around the corner, we see this Islamic radical aspect being thing. If Umar Khalid is guilty, so was Kapil Mishra. And where are we seeing the two people? One is a minister in the government now, and all these cases have been withdrawn. Umar Khalid, for whatever reasons, I am not going into the merit of the case, but the fact is that anybody for that matter needs a fair trial, and justice delayed is justice denied. That is the basic ethos of...
Mr. Grover, I'm really happy that you brought up the fact that justice delayed is justice denied, because, you know, the former CJI, Chandrachud, had clearly mentioned in a very private interview that the delay was because of Umar Khalid's counsel itself, because he had sought more than 7 adjournments. Correct. So don't you think that Umar Khalid, probably Mamdani should write a letter to Umar Khalid saying get a better counsel?
Well, maybe through your show, Mamdani will get the message and, you know, will write a letter there as well. But this is not something that, you know, we are trying to find fault with. The fact is, the police had, and I'm glad that there's a DCP of the Delhi police who's over here. He will be able to shed more light as to what the delays were, what the hurdles were, and why this has not happened. But to a logical thing, 5 years without a trial, in jail for, you know, charges which are only built on a speech in Amravati, not even in Delhi. He was not physically present in Delhi to have things, and being called a mastermind. We've seen several such cases where young Muslim youth have been picked up, put on trial for years together, and after that the cases have shut. And, you know, if you make a list of it, the list would be very, very long. Why is it that this persecution, and if the US lawmakers group had actually flagged it due to Rahul Gandhi's visit, I'm not even discussing the Rahul Gandhi's visit issue over here, that happened in September 2024. Today we are discussing in 2026, 1.25 years later. What triggered the BJP to raise this issue again? Because
the BJP believes it was a long laid out process. First it starts with Rahul Gandhi's visit, then the lobby discusses, and then suddenly Mamdani writes a letter.
The letter to the Indian envoy was sent in January 2025, and we are referring to a letter after 1 year and saying that, you know, that letter was because Rahul Gandhi's visit in September 2024. So there is no trigger. Just because Mamdani has written a letter to a person does not mean that, you know, you have to implicate Rahul Gandhi.
Why would a mayor of New York write a letter
about a riot accused who was part of, you know, the larger conspiracy, as the Delhi police claims, in Northeast Delhi?
You and me cannot question Mamdani's action. But, you know, for the BJP
well, the commonality is that they are Islamic radicals.
This is something that is the political
law. Okay, Mr. Grover, now let's talk about, you know, the case itself. We have Ilhan Rao, former DCP of Delhi Police. Sir, kindly help us understand how serious is a case when a person has so many allegations, criminal conspiracy, insightful speech, triggered communal violence. How long does the process take to, you know, come at a, you know, probably a conclusion whether or not this person is guilty? Because over 50 people have lost their lives, shops and houses were set ablaze, and a verdict cannot be delivered in 1 or 2 years. Mr. Ilhan Rao, how long does it take?
Yes. Good evening, Deepak, and Happy New Year to all of you, my co-panelists, and to your viewers. This is really a very important case of February 2020, in which so many lives have lost, including our police officers also was killed in this riot. And this case is not only about a speech. This case speaks about the deep-rooted criminal conspiracy which led to these riots in East Delhi. That is the important thing. And this criminal conspiracy has to be proved in the trial, no doubt in that. But for the bail purposes, as it is said that this matter is pending before the Honorable Supreme Court. It's only delayed because of his own counsel. That is mentioned by the earlier Chief Justice also in his orders. So, the delay is not on the part of the judiciary. The judiciary maybe a trial may be taking a long time because so many accused persons are there, and where there are so many accused persons, then the trial definitely delays. And it doesn't mean that if the trial is delayed, that person may be granted bail in such a serious case where the murder charges are there. And so much so the UAPA Act, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, it's a very stringent act, and in which there is no chance of bail at all. And in these the section 17 or 18 are very serious sections. That 18th section is a criminal conspiracy. And apart from this, 120B criminal conspiracy section is also there of the murdering of few people in that. But so many people have been injured in this case. We have to see in the larger perspective that how this case was made. This rioting was instigated by...
That's right.
by
Stories must be corroborated, then evidence must be matched to what they said and what was on ground zero.
There are so many other reasons. Yes.
That's right. It's a very long drawn case, and the judicial process is being followed.
One more thing I want to emphasize that our judiciary is very independent, and a pressure by writing such letters to Khalid or to the judiciary, that doesn't amount that our judiciary will be under press, or even our investigating agencies and the judiciary are, so far as these are being praised in all over the world, that we are independently seeing all these things. If on merit he deserves bail, or then it definitely will be granted. But that all to be seen by the judiciary, by their own
That's right. And speaking about the judiciary, Dr. Rajiv Nanda, over here, Mamdani and the other members of this particular lobby believe that bail denial obviously means human rights violation. So do you think that Indian judicial processes need foreign intervention?
You see, certainly not. Our judiciary is independent, sovereign. A judiciary from a sovereign country like India does not certainly requires any intervention or any letters from any country, much less US. And people who are from the radical elements of those countries, like Schakowsky and that group, and now the Mamdani leading them, writing a letter to the Indian consular saying that he should be given, the person concerned should be given a fair trial and should be as per the international law, is creating a doubt about the Indian judicial system. This is very unfair. This is our internal matter. We are capable enough, our laws are good enough to take care of the liberty of a person who will be denied the protection of law. But certainly we do not require this kind of pressure from the international lobby. Who are they to tell us that whether we should be granting bail or we should be giving fair trial, as if we are not giving them the fair trial? Somebody who's alleged of, I'm not saying whether he is guilty or not, or he should be given bail or not. That is a matter pending before the Honorable Supreme Court. We are nobody to comment on that. But certainly, we have to look at the gravity of the charges. He's been charged against under the UAPA. He's been charged for offense of collecting funds for the terrorist organizations. And our leader of opposition is allegedly meeting such kind of people who are creating pressure on the Indian judicial system to grant bail to such kind of people. Is this fair? This is, in my view, legally speaking, all these kind of things are not required. This is an attack on the sovereignty of the judicial system of India. This is certainly inconceivable and should not be tolerated and should be replied by the Indian government in an appropriate way.
That's right. And you know what is the need of the hour, Savio? Some sympathy for the Hindus who are being persecuted across the world. But when that particular matter comes up, everybody goes silent. When temples are attacked in the United States, Mamdani, he's on a holiday, probably not paying attention to what's happening in his own country. So this is a selective outrage that the BJP has called out.
No, that's absolutely correct, Deepak, and that's what I'm saying. You see, the Islamic lobby, the Islamic radical lobby, my friend Mr. Grover out here does not know an organization called CAIR, C-A-I-R. And CAIR is known to be receiving funds from sympathizers of Hamas, sending funds here and there to other Islamic radical organizations. Do a little research, Mr. Grover. You will get educated. It's an experience that I have dealing with Islamic radicals for the last 15 odd years. The point I'm trying to make is this, that the Islamic radical lobby is a very strong lobby, and therefore they assume that they can bend the Indian judiciary to their demands or to their aspirations. But on the same front, it is the Americans who do not pay attention to the Hindus that are dying in America, the Hindus that are dying in Bangladesh, or for that matter, the Christians that are dying in Bangladesh, or the Christians that are dying in Nigeria, the Christians that are dying in Sudan. So don't lecture us. You know, India knows how to look after its people, look after its citizens. Our judiciary is very strong. Yes, at many a times it's delayed, but the fact of the matter is that we are a sovereign nation. And as a sovereign nation, no mayor from America can tell us what to do. He should be bothered about what's happening in New York and the filth that exists in New York and the illegalities and the crimes that happen in New York.
The gun violence,
and not lecture
to
us.
name just one of many, that's rampantly spreading across the United States. Mr. Vijay Grover, do you think this is, necessary lecture from abroad? Do you like, as an Indian, do you want to be lectured from somebody who is sitting in the New York City, mayor office? Do you want lectures from him?
The issue that we started off, or the BJP flagged off, was linking Rahul Gandhi to the group.
No, but I'm not talking about Rahul Gandhi at all. I'm completely focused on Mamdani right now. My question was completely focused on Mamdani.
Mamdani is nobody. Mamdani's letter is nothing. It was a personal letter.
So if Mamdani is nobody, then Ilhan Omar is also a nobody, and Schakowsky, who Rahul Gandhi met, is also a nobody.
That's why I said in the beginning of the show.
So why is Mr. Rahul Gandhi meeting all nobodies?
Is fueling the issue now for no reason. It is actually taking the matter to the international level. Why is the BJP doing it at this time? Is it because of Bengal elections? We don't know. Why is it that, Pradeep Bhandari suddenly woke up and, wanted to take up a issue which happened 1 year back and a visit which happened 1.25 years back and give linkage to it? There must be some reason for this story to appear on NDTV, which News9 is now playing up. So this is something which, raises questions as to why and what are we discussing and for what reason. Umar Khalid, yes, anybody in his place, even if it was Ajmal Kasab, got a trial. It was a long trial, it was a sustained trial, but there were cases that were built. Here, 5 years, we do not see whether the 1700-page charge sheet has any content. The other side of the Umar Khalid coin is Kapil Mishra, who was also accused in the same thing. So, let's not look at it from a blinkered vision. I am talking of it from humanity point of view, and that is something that we need to understand. If somebody is in jail and after 3 years, if somebody says, no.
I agree. Okay, fine. Okay, Mr. Grover, you know what? Okay, fine. Mamdani wrote a letter to, for Umar Khalid, but why no, sympathy for those dozens of families who lost their loved ones? Around 54 individuals, innocents, have lost their lives. Their livelihoods were snatched away because their homes and shops were set ablaze. Why no sympathy for them? Why is this only selective? Okay, let's only speak about Umar Khalid, but not about what his speech did to those dozens of families. Why not?
I'm saying nobody is taking that away. The trial, the punishments have to happen, but let it happen on time is all that I'm saying.
Okay, Dr. Rajiv Nanda, this is a very dangerous pattern, whether be it on Kashmir, be it on CA, or be it on NRC, and now Umar Khalid. Do you think that, undermining Indian judiciary is very safe? Because, we don't need anybody from outside our borders to comment on our judicial process.
Certainly not. Our judiciary is capable enough to take the burden of all these kind of trials, which may be very heavy, which may be very voluminous, and witnesses are very large in number. But that's all right. This is a part of the judicial system. It is not that we are targeting certain people as allegedly as the motive of these people, Mamdani and all that group, the Schakowsky group. They are alleging as if Indian judiciary is also biased against them. There can be allegation that a particular party who is in power is having a particular ideology and maybe working against a group or in favor of a particular religion. But then certainly attacking the Indian judicial system is uncalled for act. We do not require any such kind of intervention or letters from any of these kind of people. This is intolerable act by these so-called people who are worried about the human rights, as if they are speaking about human rights violation in Bangladesh. What about the atrocities committed on Hindus in Bangladesh? And
exactly, this is selective outrage, Dr. Rajiv Nanda. And before we close, I'm really sorry to interject you here. Ellen Rao, what is the message that you want to give to people like Mamdani? Because you've been part of investigations of various, cases. Yes. What would you like to tell them?
Yes, Deepak, I just want to send a message to Mamdani that human right is for everyone, not only for Umar Khalid, who has been alleged for a very serious offences. The human right, if you are talking about that, human right can be also towards the victims of this case, who has lost their lives, who are being injured.
That's right. Human rights is not just for Umar Khalid. Human rights is also for those dozens of families who lost their loved ones. So, Savio Rodriguez, Vijay Grover, Ellen Rao, and also Dr. Rajiv Nanda, many thanks for joining us on the debate tonight. And one message is clear for Mamdani. Everybody is saying that it's time you manage your own affairs and stop poking your nose into India's affairs, because our judicial system is independent and we don't need any foreign lectures. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of In Your Interest. Thank you for watching.
"2026, take notes. Manifesting. For my little Miss Sunshine, tickles and giggles. Also want to be a biker chick this time. And dear 2026, only love for my people and myself. To manifest my best life, nature's cosmic energy.
Now mine, natural diamond intention pendants.
Special partner MG present EV Sahi Hai.
She's been there, done that, and now she's set for the big leap. On Duologue Next, I discover how the scion of the Nalli group, Lavanya, has broken a century-old tradition and created her own imprints. New markets, new products. What's next for Lavanya? Let's unpack. Welcome to Duologue Next, Lavanya.
Thank you.
I start off straight away, a question which is very close to my heart. Close to 90 years old business, you made your way through into the family business, and I've heard you saying that your dad and your granddad were sort of ambivalent about whether you should come in or not. Tell me about that incident. How did it happen? That was the second stint. Immediately after engineering, you joined your group. Then you went out, you did your studies and worked in corporate organization, McKinsey, Myntra, and then you came back. So how did that happen, as much as you can share with me?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So I did 2 stints at my family business. I graduated 2005 and I was 21, computer engineer. India was a very different place back then. Joined the family business with no idea, no background in economics, accounting, retail, sarees, nothing. So that was both a blessing and a curse.
So basically, you did not go for your